This is episode 25 of Sound Pollution. In this episode, we are going to meet Brooke Hall, a singer-songwriter based in Louisville, Kentucky, with a killer voice and some amazing lyrics. We will be discussing Brooke's journey in music, her inspirations, stories behind two of her tracks, and of course, she's going to share a great touring memory with a previous guest of Sound Pollution, Miss Kelly Newton, who I believe is episode 4 and 17, and at this point probably alive, or 2 or 3. There's another great story with the two of them that will also be shared on the Patreon bonus episode for VIP patrons. Yes, the patron page that I've been talking about for 2 episodes is finally up and running. There are 3 tiers. The first one is $3 a month, and you get an official shout out on an episode of Sound Pollution. Then for $5 a month, you get a shout out plus early access to the music only episodes by at least a week or 2. Because I can do that now. And, VIP patrons for $10 a month get the shout out and the early access to the music only episode and the monthly exclusive bonus episode, which is where that other story is going to be in. So, if you are interested in receiving, some kudos for helping out Sound Pollution, early access to some of the great music, and of course, access to the VIP patron bonus monthly exclusive content, just jump on over to Patreon. I'm going to drop that link down in the description section. On that topic, I get to do my first official patron shout out to not only my first patron, but my first VIP patron, Miss Kathleen. Thank you, Kathleen. You are greatly appreciated. You are the first patron, and you are amazing. All right, everybody, on to the new episode with Brooke Hall. All right, listeners, I am here with Brooke Hall. Brooke, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been a singer-songwriter for the last 3.5 years. Before that, I was a drummer. I've been drumming forever. And so I never really thought I would land to be a singer. I've always been a songwriter, but I never really thought I would be singing. So I always knew my musical journey would be playing music, but I never thought it would be here. So the last several years have been super interesting and a huge turn for me, just because I just always thought I'd be a drummer. And so, but I was like, eventually I was like, oh, how am I supposed to do all these songs? I got all these songs and I know kind of what I hear, but how's people going to hear them? So I was like, so then I taught myself guitar. And so then I've just started, like I said, the last couple of years going out and doing open mics and slowly getting gigs. And so it has evolved into this singer-songwriter thing that I'm getting ready to do some cool stuff with. And finally put some stuff out there. So it's been kind of like a full circle journey. It's kind of cool.
Now, are you still doing the same type of music, or when you were drumming, was it like a different genre altogether?
Oh, yeah. When I played drums, I did. I was in cover bands. Probably the first 6 bands I was in, we did covers. And so, every weekend, every week we were practicing all the covers, the top 40s of the countries or rock. I mean, I've played a whole wide range of genres of music on the drums. And then I was in an original band. We were a 5-piece electric, went down to a 3-piece acoustic. And I was still playing the cajon then. I went down from a whole drum set, went down to just the cajon. So, we did covers and originals though. So that kind of got me introducing, like, hey, let's try one of my songs. Like, I'm not singing this, but you guys kind of, see what you can do. So that kind of really started started pushing out a little bit of my original stuff. And then I was like, they were like, well, why don't you try to sing it? And so then that sort of started kind of evolving into maybe I can do this, And in the meantime of that, I was also teaching myself guitar, but, yeah,
and that's not easy.
No, it's not. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's been a super interesting journey just because, I mean, I listen to every kind of music. I love all music. And then it's interesting how my original music comes through. Sometimes it is country. Sometimes it's alternative. Sometimes it's bluesy. I mean, just letting the song kind of take over. But yeah, it's been a super cool journey.
When did you start playing music originally? When did you start kind of getting into I want to be a writer?
So I started writing like songs when I was in middle school.
Okay.
Just like started writing as sort of like a poetry type thing, and then I was like, and I've always loved music. I played saxophone in band when I was in elementary school.
Nice.
All through school, I did that. And then, as you started listening to music, I really, going into high school, I really wanted to play drums. And my band director was like, yeah, I just need to keep you in saxophone, you can't move you back there. So then my parents was like, they just bought me a drum set for Christmas. And so I then taught myself drums and just probably drove them crazy, obviously, but taught myself drums. And then I was in my first band when I was 17. And so I was in a cool country southern rock kind of band, and man, it was so cool. I learned a lot of things. I was in a group with a lot of seasoned musicians. I learned a lot of stuff from them. And so it was just a super cool journey just to like evolve into, oh, I really want to play the drums. Okay, now I'm in a band. So I'm writing this stuff. I just kept writing though. As you were saying, in middle school, I just started writing, and those poems kind of started evolving into, man, but I really want to write a song. And so then I just started writing these little songs. And so then I kind of knew what I wanted them to sound like. And then when I started teaching myself guitar, it was just like kind of marrying those things together and just
It
kind
brought
of,
it in.
yeah.
Yeah. So you probably have never thought of yourself really doing anything else.
Not really. I mean, even, and I love, like we were talking earlier, I work in education. And so, and I love my job. I love what I do. I love helping our kids in my community. But music is for sure my passion. And, when you get something like that, you just know.
Yeah.
Just makes your heart happy, And so, yeah, music has always been my common ground, I guess you could say. So, yeah.
So you would say that your sound isn't really one type of genre. How would you describe it?
A lot of people ask me kind of like what my genre is, and it's super hard to kind of put.
Which I think is good. If you can't answer that, that means you're doing it right. Personally, that's my opinion.
Hard because, like when I just wrote a new song last week, and I about sent you that, like a snippet of that. But I'm thinking about putting this on the new EP, so I was like, oh, wait. But
yeah,
I never really know fully how a song's going to evolve until it kind of all comes together. But man, some of my songs are country-ish. Some of them are alternative, bluesy, like an alternative rock sometimes. Like, it just kind of depends on where that falls. So to say, I kind of say Americana just because I feel like that can all fit underneath that category. But yeah, that's a hard one to answer sometimes.
It is. So would you say there was like an aha moment, or did it all just sort of happen really naturally? First it was band, and then I want this, and then it just all came together? Or was there like an actual moment where you were like, this is it?
Yeah, I would say about 3 years ago, I was in that original band, and we were doing, originals and covers, and we went into the studio and did a 4-song EP, and we played one of my songs on the EP, and I just did some backing vocals, nothing, crazy. And then when we would play out, we went down to a duo, just me and the lead singer, and I would help her sing sometimes or whatever, and then at home I would practice singing. And I was like, I'm just going to try this, like, I'm just going to do it. I've got all these songs. And so then I just started really practicing and really like trying to just build my confidence up, because coming from a drummer into the very back of the band, kind of back there hidden, to being out front. So my first open mic was super, it was at Diorio's on Baxter Avenue with Lana Fugit. And so I showed up there one night and got up and did a song, and man, I was so nervous. But that was probably that night, probably that open mic at Alana's was probably my aha moment of like, yeah, this is, even though I'm nervous as crap, like this is it for me. Like, this is what I want to do.
It's totally worth throwing up in the bathroom first.
Exactly. Yeah, that was that night. Like, I can remember that just like yesterday, So yeah, I think that moment was like, okay, like, yep, this is the new journey of music. We're going to try this.
Well, I'm glad you did. And speaking of that, tell me about Highway Miles.
Okay, Highway Miles. So I was doing last summer. I took a lot of trips back and forth to Nashville, the last 2 summers actually. So being in education, you know, you're off in the summertime, but also I get off at 3:30. And so some days I would get off work. I would drive to Nashville, play at a songwriter round. I'd play 1 to 3 songs. I would turn around, drive back home, and go to work the next day. And so I was on the road a lot. And so I don't know, I was on the phone one night and I just made the comment about, man, I've got a lot of highway miles going, you know, back and forth to Nashville. And so I wrote that in my book. And that's kind of where one of the verses in there talk about, you know, driving, you know, through Nashville or whatever. And so, yeah, because I just travel back and forth there a bunch, just trying to get into the songwriter rounds and just be immersed in that songwriter community down there. It just kind of helps push me as a songwriter.
Well, I know we were talking before I hit record, which I should just hit record in the beginning. I don't know why I don't. How Nashville is different. What about Nashville do you think kind of pushes you forward?
Well, the cool thing for me, like, you know, if I walk down on Broadway, it is kind of nice still to just kind of walk down through there, you know, and you get to hear all the, you know, the top hits. A lot of those people in those bars are playing those top songs that you're constantly hearing on the radio. But when you get outside of that, you know, outside of Broadway, and you get into those little bitty venues and little cool little bars that are doing those songwriter rounds, that to me is really where it kind of connects and comes together. Kelly and I went down there, you know, that one weekend, and we played every single night we were there. And so you just meet people, the connections you make with people, the people that you get to hear up on the stage, you know, it just could be that. For me, it's just that constant push, you know, of, man, I just want to be a better writer. I want to be a better writer. And so each time I go there, I make connections with people, and it just kind of pushes me to be that better songwriter. So, yeah, Nashville's changed to me a bunch downtown, but on the outskirts of that and in those little bitty songwriter rounds, man, you can hear some good music, you know?
I bet. Yeah. I still have to do that. I'm really disappointed in myself.
Me too. Actually.
You should be. It sucks. I have been back in Louisville for like 3.5 years and I still haven't gone to Nashville.
Come on.
I know. It's stupid.
Another day, another dollar, just running on fumes. This 9 to 5 show gives me the blues. This soul needs renewed. This show best Chevy chasing that yellow line, headed down 65, no destination in mind. Passing through Nashville, Tennessee, where the music sets me free. Headed for some Georgia's reckless. Might have headed Mississippi, listen to little bluesman play. Highway miles gonna get me out of here. Highway miles, take a turn on the dirt road. Backwoods just let me disappear.
you went down there with Kelly. Do you ever write or collaborate with others as far as?
Yeah, so I have made a couple connections down there. Written a whole song yet with someone, like co-writing with somebody yet, but I do have some connections that I bounce some ideas off of people from down there that I've connected with through Instagram, social media, after we've met in person. Some connections that hopefully when I release some stuff out, I'm going to be able to connect with them and kind of push and release some stuff down that way as well. But that is one thing that's on my list, my bucket list, I guess you could say, is I would love to co-write with some more people from Louisville or down there, either one. Something I would like to really do some more of, because a lot of it is just by myself.
So with the pandemic, how have you navigated playing out? Because I know some places you can't, and you still can't.
Yeah, I think one time since the pandemic hit out. And so my mom has kidney disease, and so that was another higher piece for me to be super careful. And so I played out one time, but it's been super interesting. I've talked to some other songwriters, and so it's almost like you went in these big waves of like a big lull moment where it's like you don't do anything at all. It's just like there's no spark, there's no nothing. And then the last few months, I really had that writer's block kind of like went away, and I was able to start writing again. And so I wrote a new song last week, which I was super excited about. That was super cool. It felt good because I was like, oh my gosh, am I never going to write a new song again? Because it just kind of was just like a blah moment, just trying to take it on. Yeah, it's been kind of a bummer in the sense of playing music, but it's been a good reflective time for me, resetting some goals and some things that where do I want my music? What do I want that to look like? Just setting some personal goals for as a singer-songwriter. It's been some good things have came out of that, but I just wish I could have written some more music, but I don't force that,
You shouldn't force that. It comes or it doesn't.
Exactly. Like Highway Miles, that was in my book for a while. Like I might write a one-liner, that line could sit there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. I just kind of let things come along as they evolve. I mean, I don't try to push it. I just feel like it's forced, and you can see that, you know what I mean? Or you can feel that. I just want you to feel something in one of my songs. Like, that's the cool part of it for me. It's like, I want someone to feel it and it's real.
You kind of let it come naturally. What would you say, other than that, your songwriting process is like?
So a lot of times, so I have a background too as a counselor. And so, just listening to people and really being involved in what they had to say, or their viewpoints or their thoughts, or just kind of taking in the world around you, the things that happen. I love to flip through Netflix, even just flip through movie titles and just see what things are called, just if something catches my eye, I'll write that down. And then that could be connected with something you said, and that would create a song. So I just I keep notes in my phone. I could keep a notebook constantly with me, a little journal. And so when those things are in there, sometimes it just or I have a melody on my guitar. I never know where I'm going to start. If I'm going to start with the chorus, I'm going to start with the guitar. It's super awesome, the process sometimes, that happens just because I don't know. Like, I just let it go. I just kind of let it lead me. So it's always a fun process to see.
Who would you say you're most inspired by? Can you think of anybody particular that caught your attention?
Yeah, I really like Brandy Carlisle. I just think she is, just kind of super true to herself. And she kind of, to me as a songwriter, she does that, she invites you into a story or something, that just kind of catches her. And she dives you down into these pieces of life and makes it real for you. And so I love that about her songwriting. And Taylor Swift, actually, she is an awesome songwriter. She is. When she first came out as a country artist, I listened to her stuff, but then, I just felt like just that another female, the same kind of thing. But man, she had this little different songwriting style about her. And as she has evolved, I've loved to follow her journey, and I've loved to, see her, stand back as a songwriter. She's got cool little songwriting techniques she uses, and the way she tells a story is pretty cool.
So if you could collaborate with anybody, doesn't matter if they're local or crazy famous, who would it be off like the top of your head?
Well, I would love to collaborate with Elvis, which I know that's not possible. But
Right? But wouldn't that have been cool?
oh man,
But
he's one of my top people, really. Uh, just to be able to sit around and just to jam with him would have been just so cool, you know. So if I had a choice, dead or alive, it would be him. Um, but alive, I've always admired Keith Urban. I like his old stuff as a writer. Um, I liked his stuff, but I tell you, my favorite person right now is Jason Isbell, man. Yeah, he's probably my go-to to listen to all the time. I mean, and I get songwriting inspirations from him. If I could sit down and write with anyone, it'd be him.
so tell me about Dreamcatcher. I loved that song. And I've listened to some of your other stuff. You're very good. Please don't get me wrong. And I truly adore the tone in your voice. But that one almost made me cry. So tell me, yeah, I was like, oh, so tell us about that song.
It's a super interesting story. So I work in a school. We had just had an 8th grade student commit suicide. That year I wrote that song.
That's awful.
So I was getting ready for work, and that weighed super heavy, on me and the students, the staff. And I was getting ready for work that morning, and I think the morning after, and I had the news on, and they were talking about, it was just so weird because then they started talking about the suicide rate in America, among teens.
Yeah.
And so it was just so funny because I was just, getting ready, and that was in the background playing, and that just happened at our school. And so it was just like meant for me to hear that. And so that song popped in my mind, like just being a dream catcher for somebody, for a minute, like we all need that reassurance or someone to be there for us. And so I kid you not, like from my house to the school, I was starting to write that in my mind, driving to work. I get to work, I go to my office, I start writing this song down, and it was done. It was just, that's what it was.
That quick, that whole song.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I just knew as soon as I heard that, connected that dream catcher, like, we all need that dream catcher sometimes in our life, like, let me be that for you. I mean, we all need it. And so, yeah, it was an insane process. I mean, and that happens, sometimes, not on all songs, but that one specifically, yeah, it just happened.
It's beautiful. It really, really is.
Yeah, it's a song that, people just need to know that, like, especially now, I feel like in more of the times that we're in now, it's like, you feel so isolated and alone, and, there are people that care and love you and that would do something to help you. Be a dream catcher for you, I guess, Yeah, just love the idea of the song, but man, it just, yeah, when I got to work, I just couldn't stop writing. It was just like, no, this is it, so.
I bet they were like, what is she doing? You're like, shh, don't talk to me right now. Just trust the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll know later.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I really did. I really, really did. I listened to it 2 times in a row. It's beautiful.
You try to be strong, take the world on your shoulders, thinking you can withstand any storm, like the snowbirds in Boulder. 'Cause sometimes we need a dream catcher, even though we think we're fine. There's hope and healing, protective feeling is the answer we all need from time to time. Before you let your heart shatter, Yeah, it's time we take a stand. 'Cause sometimes we need a dream catcher. Even though we think we're fine, there's hope and healing. Protected feeling is the answer we all need from time to time. Before you let your heart shatter, just know you matter to me. Just let out your scream and let me be. Ah, let me be your dream catcher. Get it twisted, I know it's hard for you to let down your guard, for me to see your heart tattered and bruised. But we exist to love one another. Give me one chance to prove. Sometimes we need a dream catcher. Even though we think we're fine, there's hope and healing. Protected feeling is the answer we all need from time to time. Before you let your heart shatter, just know you matter to me. Just let out your scream and let me be. Ah, let me be your dream catcher.
What do you like most about music for you?
I think the most important thing for me is it's such a good coping piece for me. In any emotional piece, like whether I'm happy, sad, upset, like music is the go-to, and music to me brings back memories of lots of different times in my life, and so I turn to music for everything. I mean, going into work, working out, spending time with family, and I just saw this thing the other day, and it was talking about how when you lose someone, that memory is still there, and music just brings all that stuff back for you. So man, yeah, music's
It's
get ready.
everything.
It's going. I mean, I've got music going constantly.
Yeah, I do too. I was really glad you were like, can we do 9:30? Because I was like, I started with this one thing, and it happens to me all the time. I turn on YouTube and I'm just like, I'm down a rabbit hole. When I got your message, I was like, oh, thank God, because it's going to take a minute. Because I was over here.
Yeah. Oh, I get you.
And this is a really good question for you, actually, since you work with kids. What would be your advice to somebody who's thinking about doing music?
Oh, I mean, I just had a conversation with a kid last week. They are choosing some things that they really need to kind of like get back on this other path. They're hanging out with some people that they shouldn't be hanging out with. And so, I talked to them about like, and I know they love music. And I'm like, have you ever thought about that you could learn, that song, and that you could play that instrument or whatever? And they're like, not really. And so it's so funny because we had the conversation and I was like, yeah, my guitar is hard. I'm like, but you could start on a ukulele. Like that's super, gentle. It's, it's easy to chord, easy to do the chords and stuff like that. And so we picked out a few songs, super easy songs, and are on my ukulele, and man, they're loving it. And they've already learned several songs. They keep talking to me about it. So yeah, I feel like, for me, it's just a coping piece, like I said, when I'm happy, sad, all these different pieces, like I can go grab that guitar at any point in time, and be in a totally different place. And that's what me and that kid talked about. And it was a super cool conversation because the kid was like, not that way. They threw out a few songs and I'm like, well, you could be playing that. And so it was a cool conversation.
Have you ever thought about doing music therapy?
No, when I first got my counseling degree, I thought about, incorporating music into that somehow, because I
Uh-huh.
think, like I said, that's a huge part of my life. And I think it's a lot of people, music's huge in their life. Sometimes they just don't realize probably how they could then interweave that into their life and make it better,
Uh-huh.
or for those coping pieces. Um, but no, I've thought about it before, but it's been a while since I have.
So what advice would you give somebody who was like, okay, I'm going to do music? Where do I start?
Oh, I think you start with what you know. I think you start with something that you love. And that's what I told the kid. What songs do you like? What's something that a super good song? They threw out a few, so we looked at them and we found something that was easy.
Uh-huh.
Not super complicated. I think, yeah, you start with what you know, as far as like, man, I really love this song, and how cool would it be for me to sing this song or play this song along.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's what I told the kid, and it's worked out perfect for that.
Do you have any funny or crazy like performance stories or anything like that?
Hmm.
Everybody usually has one. I guess the question is, do you have any that you'd like to tell?
That's what I was thinking.
You're like,
Off my drum throne, and when I play drums, I've done that before in a show. Um,
You had what now?
I have fallen off the drum throne, playing drums. I fell
Oh
back.
shit.
That's happened. Singer-songwriter wise, no, I don't really think anything strange has happened. I've been in a few places that, like when me and Kelly went to North Carolina, we went to a little place called Alley Cat Music. I think that's what it was called. It was an open mic. We just showed up there on the last night there and played, and met some super cool, interesting people there afterwards. Nothing crazy happened on stage, but afterwards, man, it was interesting night. That was an interesting night. We'll have to talk about that. Like, ask Kelly if she remembers that night.
I want to know why was it interesting.
Just the people that we got to talk to on the
Right.
So outside there was like this big porch type thing. People just would go out there and sit on. There were some couches, whatever. This guy, man, just talked to us for a very long time, but he had, like, he could rip off poems like nothing. I mean, just like, it was insane. I mean,
Right.
Kelly have to say about, yeah, it was just the craziest thing. Cool, but you just don't, that doesn't happen to you every day,
No, that's the story for the books. What's your favorite place? What's your favorite state that you've toured in?
Man, North Carolina was super fun. It's a cool little town. We played in Greenville, North Carolina, and it was just a cool experience. I mean, to go, Louisville's always been our hub to play music in, and there's awesome people, open mics and venues to play. But as a songwriter, I just feel like it just, to expand that horizon. And Kelly and I was like, let's just do this mini tour, So that was just super cool to go on the road and know that you're going to play music. That's probably one of my favorite outside of being in Louisville all the time to play to North Carolina was fun. We had a blast.
I want to say I've interviewed a couple people from there. Now I'm curious. I'm going to have to look. I'm going to be like, tell me about it. I'm going to like, so tell me about, were you the guy on the porch?
Yeah, I'm telling you, this dude was, he was an interesting man. He really was. And that's the coolest thing too about going to all these different places. You meet so many interesting people that you wouldn't have met. You know what I mean? These little stories, you just never, people tell you things, share stuff with you, come up afterwards, talk about songs. It's just like, you just want to meet all these people and have all these experiences. And I love talking to people. And so it just kind of fits, makes sense. When we went to New Orleans, actually, probably the craziest thing that happened to us there. So our last night there, I woke up and I heard rain, and so we stayed in, we just rented a room, and so I had met the lady who lived there, whatever. And so I heard it rain. And so the next morning when I woke up, I went out and she was making coffee. And so I chatted with her and she was like, no, you guys go back today, right? And I said, yeah. And we had rented a car, it's out front. And so Kelly was still in there asleep. And so the girl was like, well, you guys probably should go ahead and head out now. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, did you look outside? And I said, no. She goes, well, you probably should. So I look out her front door, and the water is already halfway over the middle of the wheels on the car. A little SUV type thing.
Oh, no.
So Kelly, I'm like, Kelly, get up.
Get up, we gotta go.
She's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, we've got to go. Like, we're going to get flooded in here. And the girl's like, seriously, like, so where it flooded the last time New Orleans flooded bad, that's where we were staying. It was in that.
Oh.
And so when we load up the car to leave, Kelly has a picture of me talking to a firefighter. So our exit where we were supposed to leave to get, to come back home, there we couldn't take that exit. It was like water was everywhere. So there was a big fire truck. And so I get out and go talk to the firefighter. I'm like, hey, I want to get home to Kentucky. Like, how am I supposed to do that? And he's like, well, you can go up to this next exit and try to get on. He goes, I'm not promising you anything, though. I mean, it was already that bad.
Yeah. He's like, good luck.
Yeah. I mean, so we drive up to the next exit, and I drive us through water to get out to come home. But it was intense. Like, that was a crazy story, though, because
let me just wake up my road partner real quick. Hey, dude.
Yeah,
it's now or never.
Kelly was like, let's just stay. And I'm like, where are we supposed to stay? Like, this is a rental. Like, people is like floating around in boats at that point.
This is getting flooded too.
Yeah, she's got a picture of me with the firefighter dude up there talking to him.
Oh, I want to see it. Because now I have this story to go with it.
Yeah, I'll show you the picture.
Oh, that's not. And you know what's great about that story is the lady making coffee is like whatever about it. So you have no idea how bad it is.
No, she's like, have you looked outside? I'm like, no. She's like, you might want to go ahead and head out now. And she did offer, though. She's like, if you do get stuck here, I mean, she was going to let us stay there another night. But, like, I mean, I didn't want to get stuck there. I'm like, Kelly, this is a rental. Like, it's going to get swept away.
Yeah, the car's gone.
Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah, we got some pictures from that, and it flooded fast. That's what the girl said. When that flood really happened there the last time, like, that is the area. Because I always thought it was downtown, like, but it wasn't. It was right in the area where we were staying in it. And I could see really quickly why, just because water was already everywhere, and people were in boats and kayaks when we were trying to get out. Going
down the street.
Yep.
Okay, so what time of year was that so I don't go then?
It was in the summer.
I don't want to. I really want to go there, but not for that.
It was a blast. You for sure should go. It was fun. She wanted to get stuck in New Orleans. She was like, I don't really want to go back. And I was like, oh, I do. Like, I don't want to get stuck. I was like, Kelly, this is a rental. Like, I'm over here. Like, this was a perfect episode, of like, I'm over here like freaking, and she's like, let's just stay. And I'm like, I don't want to get stuck here. Like, look at the water. So yeah, she was wanting to get stuck. He was making fun of me when I got out and talked to the firefighters, and like, we got up there and it was like we couldn't go through, and so we turned around, and the Siri just kept taking us back to that one exit to get home. And I'm like, that's it. And she goes, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I'm gonna go up here and talk to the firefighter. And she was like, you are? Yes. I want to.
You're like, you might like it here, but I don't want to die.
No, it was fun, but I wanted to get out of the water.
I am gonna find a way to tailgate you guys the next time and just have a camera on. It can be like a reality show.
Pretty much. See, then you could take your podcast on the road. See, yeah, I would love to do another mini tour. Really. Yeah. I'm getting ready to record an EP soon, so I would love to be back on your podcast and talk about some of that stuff.
Okay, why don't you tell them what you have out now or where they can get it?
The only thing I have out right now is Highway Miles. It's on any music platform you can find. You can look me up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok under Brooke Hall Music. Love for you to come on there and follow my journey, because I'm getting ready to have some merchandise, and this EP is going to be coming out soon. So.
Yeah. So you had just asked about a hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love a hat.
I see that. And I at first thought baseball cap, but then I looked at how you used your initials and I thought that would look real. That would be easy to do and look really cool on a toboggan.
Ooh, you're
Like sewn into a toboggan, because it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but it would work.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I know I need to connect with some, like, I would love to connect with some local artists too, you know, and to do some, you know, some merch like that. I mean, I do photography on the side. But as far as like making stuff, I think it would be super, super cool to do that. But yeah, I want some hats and, cause I'm a hat freak, and then some shirts obviously, but yeah, I'm working on that kind of stuff. So I'll have some of that posted soon, and then we'll do this again. And hopefully me and Kelly make some more memories that way and we can share it on here.
Alrighty, listeners, thank you again for stopping by for this week's episode of Sound Pollution. You are the best. And one last shout out for Kathleen for supporting Sound Pollution via on the Patreon page. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe on all listening platforms and social media. I can't stress it enough. That really does help a podcast out. It means more support for the podcast, and it keeps us going. And for an independent podcast featuring independent musicians, all your help is, it's needed and greatly, greatly appreciated. It doesn't just help me. It helps the artists that appear on the show. So drop down below again in the description section. Make sure that you're going to the musicians' pages, you're liking them, you're following, you're subscribing to them, you're buying their music, you're supporting them. It does make a difference for them as well. I believe that's it for this week. Thank you again for joining me. Have a great week. Be kind and make some noise.